Hello everyone, welcome once again to the class of history, and in this video I'm going to cover the topic Mughal relations with other rulers. We all know that Mughal rule is something which has existed in India for almost 300 more than 300 years. So that means there must be some kind of unique strategy that must be followed by the Mughals in order to maintain their ruling for so long. So what let us understand that what were the strategies that were adopted by the Mughals in order to maintain their authority. Okay, so to understand this topic, please watch the video carefully. Okay, so this is the very first slide which talks about the relationship of Mughals. As we can see that there are two different people who are interacting with each other. One is from Mughal rule and other is from the Rajput princes. Okay, so what kind of ties that the Mughals used to have during those days? So now let us see the first slide and then we'll get back to this point as well. Okay, so let's see, that Mughals did a lot of thing in order to maintain their rule for so long, because you know that not everyone is going to accept the Mughals, especially the rulers who already were there and ruling into their area, and somebody who came on the other day and said, no, I'm very powerful, now I'm going to rule in the entire region. So nobody is going to accept their authority. So what happened with Mughal rulers, like initially when the people who did not accept their authority, the Mughals, whosoever, if a ruler refused to accept the Mughal authority, then what happened? The Mughals constantly campaigned against those rulers until and unless they accept their authority. So through military campaigns, through the other types of strategies, they used to campaign against those rulers who refused to accept their authority till the time they finally accepted their rule. So there were certain other strategies as well. Like we can see that Mughals have some diplomatic strategies. Now what does it diplomatic strategies talks about? Diplomatic means not every time you can talk with a lot of anger, or you can become you cannot always be rebellious against the other people. Sometimes instead of applying your manpower, you have to apply your mind as well. So that means that diplomatic strategies talks about the way of thinking, the way of dealing, how the Mughal rulers used to convince, how the rulers used to make people to accept their authority. So there were different kind of strategies that were adopted. Like that when the Mughal became more powerful, what happened? There were many of the rulers who joined them voluntarily, because they were increasing their control in the diversified regions, as well as they were also having so much of control with manpower and resources. So that is why there were many of the rulers who became the part of the Mughal rule in order to save themselves. And many of the Rajput rulers have also married their daughters in the Mughal families in order to receive the high position. If I quote you to the very known example is Jodha Akbar. The movie also came for Aishwarya Rai and Hrithik Roshan. You must have seen that Jodha, who was a Rajput princess, and Akbar belongs to the Mughal background. So basically, it was done so that the Mughals have a cordial tie or the relationship with the Rajput rulers, and they could get the accept their areas, means their rule as well. So there are not only Jodha Akbar but many of the other rulers who often accepted the authority of the Mughals in this way. So Mughal marriages with Rajputs, it's a very common example. The mother of Jahangir, who was a Kachwaha princess and who was also the daughter of uh, the Rajput ruler of Amber. The mother of Shah Jahan was a Rathwar princess, and Shah Jahan belonging to the Mughal background. Daughter of Rajput ruler of Mewar, that is Jodhpur. So she was mother of Shah Jahan, was a Rajput princess, and likewise there were other people also, other princes also who belonged to the Rajput family background. So we find that Rajputs have a very cordial relationships with the Mughal ruler, because that their daughters were often married to the Mughal rulers, right? Moving on to the next slide. Okay, but not everyone accepted the authority of the Mughal rule. That is also an example. Not every ruler, not every Rajput was very much convinced with the Mughal rule. As one of the example is of the Shishodia Rajputs, who refused to accept the authority of the Mughals for a long time. Now, what happened? How Mughals were even successful for creating such a vast empire, because that they had an art of balancing. Now, what do I mean by the art of balancing? Do you know? Art of balancing means it's there was a difference in their strategies of defeating and humiliating. Means they defeat, but they do not humiliate their opponents, rather they treated them with respect. For example for example when Shishodia Rajput, that's basically we're talking about Maharana Pratap. So when he refused to accept their authority, they had a constant battle. And then what happened? When they lost, ultimately the Mughals, instead of defeating them, instead of humiliating them, what did they do? They have given their watans, that is means land, their plot of land to them only. And they have given as a part of revenue assignments, means they will be considered as a ruler over there, but the ultimate authority will be under the Mughals. So instead of defeating and humiliating and removing them forever, they were respecting them. They were a bit respectful towards their opponents. So that was a strategy, that was the art of balancing that I talked about. Okay, so I hope that you must have understood this topic, and that uh, means that's all.